Hey, this is Nat Berman with MoneyInc.com. I'm here with Lance Moore, former receiver for the New Orleans Saints, currently doing what we're going to find out. Wanted to talk to you today about some of the pervading issues in sports, especially when it comes to finances. And you seem to be someone who's extremely motivated post career, and I wanted to kind of get into some questions with you and talk about it. I think one of the first things I wanted to ask you is that, the lifespan of an NFL player is obviously much, much shorter than your typical career. In fact, up to 30 years prior to most people retiring, an NFL player's career ends. So I wanted to know, from your perspective, what did it feel like when you decided to call it quits from the NFL? Were you scared? Were you nervous? Excited? Did you know what you wanted to do?
Well, I mean, I would definitely say that there was a number of different emotions that went along with it. After the 2015 season, I signed a 1 year deal there with the Detroit Lions. So I was there for one season, and during the season, I kind of started questioning not necessarily if I still love the game, but just kind of questioning how much longer I wanted to do it.
Sure.
I definitely felt that at the end of the season that I had at least another season or two left in me, and I was interested in playing again. But once free agency started and I didn't get any calls, and then as off-season workouts and OTAs and mini camps are going on, and guys are getting hurt, and I wasn't getting any calls, the reality kind of struck a little bit in that I might not get another call. I
Yeah.
might already be done. So I kind of not necessarily started preparing myself to be done, but I kind of started preparing myself for what is next.
Mhm.
And eventually I got some calls in training camp, and went and signed with the Atlanta Falcons. And a couple of days later, just kind of made up my mind, like, look, man, I'm done.
Okay.
Was a guy that always prided myself in playing for the right reasons, and did not want to hold on too long. Not that I couldn't do it physically, but mentally in the NFL at least, if your mind is not all the way in it, there's no way that you're going to be able to be successful and maybe even keep yourself from getting hurt really bad out there. So
Yeah.
I knew that it was kind of the right move, and initially my feelings were excitement. Hey man, I had a heck of a career. I was able to look back and reflect a little bit, and really appreciate what I had done, and the things that I was able to do while I was playing. But after that initial joy of kind of being done and not having to go through training camp and practice and beat my body up anymore, I was a little bit lost. I mean,
Yeah.
I would watch the games on Sundays once the season started, and I would have my anxiety. I'm not an anxiety ridden guy, but my anxiety would be so high, and I felt like I started to second guess maybe, and
Hmm.
dang, I should be out there. But a few weeks later, after that was that kind of episode, I guess, settled down, I became excited again, and started kind of I guess grinding on what's next.
Hmm.
Um, I've been training wide receivers out here in California a little bit. I've been dabbling a little bit with the media, going on the radio here in Sacramento,
Hmm.
and been on NFL Network a little bit this season. Just trying to do as many things as I can, not just to keep myself busy, and not that I'm worried about finance, but I'm not a guy that can sit still very long. I can't be stagnant. I can't sit in one spot, and for me, that first couple of weeks, I almost feel like I needed it to kind of get over it.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt in my mind now that I made the right decision, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing so far.
It's great. I definitely think it's more about the person than it is the finances.
Yes.
I don't care how much money you make. If you are a certain type, it's very hard to sit still, and I can completely understand that.
Well, yeah, but my situation is very, very unique.
Sure.
I'm a guy that had an opportunity and turned that opportunity down.
Right.
Whereas most guys, I mean, shoot, the league average is right around three years now. So
Yep.
most guys, they play 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden, no team wants them. They can't play anymore. They're hurt. Whatever the reason is, I think those are the guys that you hear about, most of the time,
Yep.
because they didn't. A lot of times they don't make a lot of money, and the little money that they do have, they run through that very, very quickly. So
Yeah.
it's tougher on a guy that has the game taken away from them than it is on a guy that steps away on his own.
Sure.
That it obviously financially, but mentally as well. Me saying I'm good is different than the NFL saying you're not good enough.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that itself definitely helps.
Yeah, and speaking of money management, I think that's kind of the next question I wanted to ask you. It's obviously one of the major issues in all sports, and I think the media kind of accentuates it a little bit by saying, X percentage of, former NFL players are in debt, or NBA players, or Major League Baseball, et cetera, et cetera. And um, I guess I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Do you think there's truth to the majority uh, of players, specifically in the NFL, since you know more about that, being out of touch financially? What do you think about all of that?
Well, yeah, I think it all starts from where guys come from. I mean, you're talking about NBA and the NFL. A
Yep.
majority of the guys that are playing professionally don't come from money.
Yeah.
So, once you get to the professional ranks and you're making a lot of money. I mean,
Hmm.
when you come from no money, coming in as a rookie, making any kind of money is a lot of money to a lot of us. So, going from a guy that didn't have money, sometimes guys don't know how to react accordingly. There's definitely a lot of risk that's associated with financial independence
Hmm.
when you're talking about guys that don't come from money and don't understand money management. It's very very hard because sometimes you see, especially now through social media and all the other media outlets, you can see what guys that make $100 million are doing, and you want that same type of lifestyle.
Sure.
And I think a lot of times that can get you in trouble. Also, um, guys that don't come from money, they've got a lot of family. They've got family or friends who don't have money as well, and they
Hmm.
see sometimes that as their meal ticket. So I think for me, the thing that was hard for me, especially early on, was saying no. I couldn't say no. And when people would ask me for money, whether it be family or friends or other, I had a very very difficult time being able to just say no. And
Yeah.
it started out with me saying no and giving some sort of excuse, and eventually it was just no. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that, when you talk about a guy coming into the NFL that didn't come from money, and all of a sudden they have money. Spending habits is a huge thing, and being able to say no. And I think one other thing that is definitely lacking, that I think could be a very very beneficial thing, is even the guys that are not making a ton of money, young guys in the league 1, 2, 3, or 4 years.
Yep.
I think the way that the NFL kind of makes guys have agents, I think that they should make guys have financial advisors, and not just any old financial advisor, obviously, because we've seen guys get taken advantage of and blown a lot of money.
Yeah.
Um, that they didn't even know was happening. So definitely a financial advisor that is certified through the NFLPA, because they'll obviously not have anybody that is going to do anything like that to the guys, and they do
Hmm.
their homework and their due diligence on all the potential guys to work for the guys. So I think that's something that could be. I don't know that it would ever happen. I don't think the NFL would ever worry about it, because in my opinion, the NFL is not too really as much worried about the players as they try to make it seem like. But the NFLPA, who is the players' union, I would love for them to try to work on something to make sure that all the guys have some sort of financial advice. Whether
Yeah.
they sign on with the guy or not, that's up to them. But I've seen it too many times where guys come in, they're making good money, and they don't have anybody that's working on or for them with their money, and it's just a matter of time before those guys run out.
That's see that actually surprises me, to be honest with you, that you just mentioned that there isn't someone assigned to players, which kind of leads me to another question, which is, I kind of know the answer already, but how would you rate the sort of current money management education systems, if any, in the NFL right now? It sounds like they're obviously lacking.
Well, I mean, they have, when you come in as a rookie, they have certain financial, um, not necessarily seminars, but programs that the player development director or the NFLPA will come in and do. But whether that lasts a day or a week, once they're gone, that's it. And then,
Wow.
in the past, the guys that go to the NFL draft, obviously, they go to the NFL symposium. Um, and which is a little bit longer, more
Mhm.
meetings, more time, and obviously they talk more about financial preparedness and what to look for, and you know the type of things that you need to be worried about. But like I said, once that is done, you know there is nobody that's there to really help them. Obviously, if a guy has questions and he wants to ask, he can get information, but
Mhm.
there's no requirements or anything. I mean, that it's almost sad because, like I said, all the issues that guys have, you know, and it's scary because
Yeah.
they just don't know.
Yeah. That's that is definitely scary. So what about you? You know, how do you manage your money, or how did you sort of, since you really didn't have, it didn't sound like you had anybody in the NFL to sort of guide you in the right direction. You know, where was your education? What got you interested in managing your own money?
Well, I think the first thing that happened with me was I was on a practice squad, so I wasn't making quite as much money as the guys that were on the active roster, or you
Hmm.
know the guys that had bigger contracts. So I was a little more frugal with my money from the beginning, just
Hmm.
because I knew, well, I'm not making as much as them, so I can't spend as much as them. I can't act like I'm going to spend as much as them. So
Right.
that was my first kind of moment when I realized I need to kind of be careful with this money. But then when I started making a little bit better money and did finally find a financial advisor,
Hmm.
um, we talked about a budget, which I never ever worried about a budget because I never had enough money to have any kind of
Right.
budgeting. So that was those two things. You know, obviously not making a lot of money in the beginning and realizing that it could run out, and working with a financial advisor was definitely something that I was really interested in. And in my time, that a lot of the younger guys that I saw that were, you know, spendaholics, I would mention to them, hey man, you should probably talk to a financial advisor. And I never told anybody they had to, or you know they had
Yep.
to sign somebody, but I would always offer up that advice because, you know, if you don't have anybody that's looking out for you, you know it's going to be really really tough. And I think there's different levels to it too. I mean, you can hire a financial advisor just to basically oversee your money and
Yep.
oversee your budget. I mean, you don't have to. I've got a pretty diverse portfolio. I mean, I've got money in a bunch of different places and working in different ways, but not all the guys have to be like that. You know,
Right.
because there's definitely guys that I've encountered that don't trust the stock market or don't trust this or don't trust that. So, you know, every situation is unique, and what guys are going to want to do with their money is you know their prerogative. But
Yeah.
having somebody oversee it and kind of not necessarily mentor, but give you advice, I think goes a long way.
Um, what would you tell an athlete who's not a professional athlete yet, but aspires to be one?
When it comes to
I
finances,
would
or
say whatever you want, but probably more when it comes to finances. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I would say just overall, you know, the very beginning, just do the work.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, and it's not come easy, and most of the time people only see Sundays or Saturdays or whenever you know people happen to be playing, and they think that you know it's all glitz and glam and it's
Yeah.
beautiful, but there's a whole lot more that goes into it than just the game days, the practice, the moving of your family, making sure everybody's taken care of, and when it comes to finances, you know, just be on point.
Yeah.
It's easy to make a lot of money if you're really good and you handle your business, but it's even easier to blow a lot of money.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
sure.
it's it's a shame,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you know, I think some guys get caught up in it and they think since they're making a lot of money today that they're always going to have a lot of money and they're not able to adjust their lifestyles at all.
Yeah.
You know, that's something I learned quick. I mean, you know, I'm almost well, I'm over a year now of not getting checks, so it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm making the money that I was making. Matter of fact, I'm not making any money. So how do I change the way I spend? How do I change the things that I'm doing with my family that you know I probably could still do, but I probably don't need to do
Right.
anymore. It's a reality that we all face because nobody can play professionally forever.
Right. Right. And speaking of, you know, life after football, and you touched upon this a little bit in terms of some things you've been doing, but I'm just curious, uh, since you're obviously so much younger than most people who, you know, end their career in whatever they choose to do. Tough question, but where do you see yourself in, let's say, 5 to 10 years?
Um, you know, since I don't have an official job or title right now,
Hmm.
I can't give you a very, very perfect answer, but I will say
Sure.
that I will be doing something that involves athletics, whether that
Okay.
be or scouting or training still or some form of athletics. But I'm passionate about kids, so
Okay.
working with kids one way or another, and I hope to be doing multiple things. I don't want to just be stuck in one little spot and doing that thing for the next 20, 25 years.
Right.
I want to be doing multiple things. If I can be on TV in 5 to 10 more years, still, I would love to be doing that. But I definitely want to help the younger guys, whether that's younger guys that are still playing, whether that's younger guys that are still playing or kids. Definitely want to be doing something along those lines.
To your knowledge, has anyone in professional sports, NFL, Major League Baseball, started any kind of money management program, on their own? Like, are there any forums out there where players actually can offer advice and experiences and things like that?
I really don't know.
Okay.
I don't. I'm not sure. I've never really heard of any. But I'm not going to say no because I don't
Yeah.
know. But like I said, the NFLPA is a pretty good sounding board. I mean, if you
Mm-hmm.
have any kind of issues or questions, that's what they're there for. We
Yeah.
pay them. So
Yeah.
as a
Sure.
professional, you pay your union. So if you have questions and you don't use them, then shame on you.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond um, financial advice. I mean, if you have
Yeah.
a legal issue, if you have something going on with your wife or your child support or anything, I mean that's why those guys are in place to make sure that they can help you. And if they don't have the exact answer for your need, then they can point you in the right direction.
Right.
So that's definitely something that can help guys. But I don't know if there's a specific forum for guys to go to get any kind of financial advice or anything like that.
Well, given I'm an entrepreneur, I'm sure there will be. Hint,
Yeah,
hint.
for sure.
But anyway, look, I just wanted to say I really, really appreciate your time. I think that there's just so much misconception out there in terms of life after sports, and it's nice to speak with someone who certainly sounds as though A, you're not worried about it, which is great, and B, that you want to help other people, not make mistakes and understand that it really is it sounds like to me, it's really in their own hands. And I think that's one of the things that's difficult, especially when you said saying no. It's very similar to, the adage of just say no, right? I mean, it's the same thing in sports. And I think people can appreciate that. It's probably a lot harder to do in real life than saying it, obviously, I would imagine. So look, I really appreciate your time, and let's hope that there is some more awareness out there and that there is something done. Any picks for the Super Bowl, by the way?
Uh, it's hard. It's hard to pick against Brady and Belichick, but
Yeah.
I think Atlanta's going to pull it off. I think they're really hot, and I think they realize that this is their opportunity. So
I thought Rodgers was just on fire and was going to play. I mean, I couldn't believe how much Atlanta just decimated Green Bay. That was unbelievable.
yeah,
But
that was a fun game to watch. I knew Atlanta would be pumped up for that one for sure.
and you'll be at the Super Bowl, right?
I will be there for Super Bowl weekend, but I'm not going to go to the game.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to have to obviously cut the interview, but would love to talk to you for a minute after, off camera. Once again, everybody, this is Lance Moore. I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of him in the future, and we really appreciate your time.
No problem.